welcome to Kickback with Chris, Martial Arts Podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of what is now known as Kickback with Chris. First of all, I would like to start by saying a huge thanks to everybody for their support over the last, it's about a week now. When I first launched this podcast, it was obviously a short 20-minute trial. I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't think, to be honest with you, that it would be something that many people would be interested in, let alone pick up on with the interest that they have. So a huge thanks to everybody that gave me feedback on my Facebook posts, sent me private messages. It was really cool to know that I got things right. Obviously, that's not to say that there aren't improvements to be made. Absolutely there are. But initially, it's really good to know that the support is out there. So, what we're going to be doing with episode 2? Well, I'm very pleased to say that our guest coming up shortly is the one and only Mitmaster himself, Mr. Matthew Chapman. Fantastic guy with great martial arts skill and obviously a lot to share about his online business. So we're going to be talking to Matt a little bit later on. But before that, I wanted to just go through a few bits that have been going on social media, bits of news that have come up since podcast 1. So the UK Martial Arts Show, I did actually touch on that a little bit in the first episode, but this week they've already announced that 2019 is going ahead, and they've already got the tickets for it. The tickets themselves, as far as I'm aware, aren't available yet, but that took about forward planning. But I'm really pleased to hear that because, as I said on the last episode, this year's UK Martial Arts Show was, in my opinion, the best one to date. So knowing that they're going ahead next year, I would assume with even more improvements, it's a really good positive thing for the UK martial arts scene. On the subject of martial arts events, coming up a little bit later on in the summer, we've got the Kaizen show. I'll be there teaching, as will a whole host of fantastic instructors. I feel really privileged to be able to have the opportunity to teach alongside some of the people that are going to be there. It's a slightly different setup to the UK Martial Arts Show, but obviously with the underlying theme of quality martial arts instructors and content and lots for people to do. If you've not seen it, if you check it out on Facebook, they've got a Facebook group there with some information on the instructors and people that are going to be taking part. I'm actually looking to have the show organizer Lucci on shortly as in an upcoming episode, just to talk to him about the show, so you can keep a listen out for that one. Another subject that I touched on episode 1 was the YouTube Red show, Cobra Kai. That's just been announced that is going to be getting a season 2, which is really cool. I really enjoyed the first episodes from season 1. In fact, should I say the whole entire season 1. For me, the standout episodes were probably 5 and 6. If you've not seen it yet, I won't give any spoilers, but episode 5 is a full-on jump psychic to the feels. Especially if you're a fan of the original films, you'll know exactly what I'm saying with that one. But again, I won't spoil it for anybody. You can go and check it out. Another piece of news: Scott Adkins has been announced as having a part in the new Ip Man film, which is amazing news for the UK martial arts scene. I'm sure many of you out there are a fan of Scott's work. To know that he's going to be playing a role in the new Ip Man film is, it's fantastic. It'd be great to see what they do, what sort of character he gets, and how they make use of his what are awesome skills. The Facebook group that we now have for this podcast, I set it up a few days ago, and what I'm looking for is for people, listeners, instructors, students, to get involved in discussion on there to help shape the future and the direction of this show. At the moment, I'm building this up based primarily on my own ideas and interaction with other people I'm just reaching out to. But I'd really like to hear from everybody else to get an idea of the direction that you want this to go in. I'd also like to have people on to speak as well. I'll have a guest instructor or martial artist or somebody within the industry on most episodes. But I would also like to just have people on just to discuss topics. So not necessarily somebody with a background in a specific area, just somebody that wants to come on and just discuss through the different bits of topics and news and things that have been going on, rather than just me talking to myself. It'd be cool. The way that we're going to be doing that, the system that I'm running now is fully set up to record Skype. The reason I wanted to go down that route primarily is because it makes people more accessible. It's easier for me as well. Obviously, it helps keep the costs down. I can record the interviews and the discussions straight from my office setup. And it also means that, again, some of the people that I'm looking to bring on, they're very, very busy people, and we can record these on the go, because obviously Skype can be installed on mobile devices as well as obviously laptops, desktops, and that sort of thing. So it just means that it's just a lot easier for everybody all around. So if you're interested in getting involved, please do. First of all, if you jump on the Facebook group, if you just search for Kickback with Chris on Facebook, it should come up as a group. I did actually accidentally set up a like page first. It shouldn't show up, but if it does, that's not the correct page. You actually want to be looking for a Facebook group. If you ask to join the group, obviously I'll add you to it, and then once you're in there, you can join in with the various discussions. You can actually start discussions yourself as well, and I'd really like to get that interaction going between people, as I say, to help sort of shape the future of the show. So with no further ado, I think what would be good now is to get onto our interview with Matt, and I will speak to you all at the conclusion. Okay, so joining me now, we've got the Mitmaster himself, Mr. Matthew Chapman. How are we doing, sir?
Very good, thank you. How are you, Chris?
I am absolutely fantastic, thanks. I'm very excited to have you on the show, the first guest. You have the honour of being the first.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't know whether it's the honour or whether you're the only person that would do it. It's one or the no.
A bit of both, probably. A bit of both.
No, actually, joking aside, we've had about 13 people now inquire to be on the show, so that's wow. Pretty cool. But I say 13. There's been more, but there's been some that were perhaps maybe not suitable. But we'll not get into that. So yes, I thought it would be, obviously we'd had a quick discussion prior to this. Just be cool to get you on the show just to talk about a lot of different subjects really.
Yeah.
Mainly coming later on, we're going to obviously talk about the fantastic services that you provide with your courses and sort of the online stuff. But before we got to that, I just thought it'd be cool to maybe have a chat about your past and how did you get into martial arts?
Cool. Well, I watched Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, and that was it for me. Basically, I was hooked after watching that movie. I think I was about 9-10 years old.
Yeah.
There were no kung fu schools near me at that time. The only school that was near me was a ninjutsu school.
Wow.
So I spent 10 years being a ninja, which is, when you're 10 years old, is actually really, really cool. So we get to do fun things like we did lessons on horseback riding.
Wow.
We did escape and evasion stuff, throwing stars, bows and arrows, blowpipes. So that was really cool.
That just sounds... never mind as a 10-year-old. That sounds cool at any age.
Yeah, it was really good fun. So I did that for a decade. I enjoyed that, and then luckily I found an instructor local to me called Anton St. James, who was a Screamer Grandmaster and also studied JKD. So I spent the next sort of 10-15 years training with him in kickboxing, Thai boxing, JKD, Eskrima, and all the various things that go with that. Did that for about 10-15 years, one-to-one with him, which was fantastic. He's a great coach. Then I moved to London to do a degree in sports science and went to Bob Breen's Academy in Hoxton, where it was then. Mm-hmm. And obviously Bob Breen is like the godfather of JKD in Europe. He was one of the first instructors to bring JKD to Europe. So I spent 5 years training at Bob Breen's Academy, which was also amazing. And then went and started learning MMA in America with Eric Paulson. So that's kind of my journey and where it's gone so far.
Wow, it's a pretty extensive. I mean, I was just having a look online and just the list of some of the people you've had the opportunity to train with, and I have to say it's a pretty impressive list. There's a pretty substantial list of names on there.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see as well. Obviously, I'm sure you'll agree that it's always good to get as much experience as possible from many different people.
I agree. Not when you're beginning, though. I don't think it's good because you kind of get confused and you don't have a direction. So in the beginning, I think it's worth students spending 3 to 5 years just on one martial art before they start branching out to all the others. So
absolutely. So you mentioned there was a degree in sports science.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, the truth is, I didn't really want to do the degree. I just wanted to come to London to train at Bob Breen's Academy.
I see. Okay.
The degree was the convenient way to get me to London and, learn something at the same time and have a lot of free time to train. So the degree wasn't the main motivation. That was just
smart.
An excuse.
That's smart. Yeah,
so,
I did it the wrong way around. Yeah, I was already training in martial arts, but I couldn't choose. I couldn't choose what I wanted to do. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do at university. So I just sort of picked a local college course to go and do, and then, as I say, I accidentally broke my instructor's nose, and sort of ended up assisting in class and sort of fell into martial arts as a sort of an occupation back in. Wow, that was the late 90s, so a long time ago. So you did it the smart way around, not like me. Oh well, that's cool. So
well, we both ended up where we want to be and doing what we love. So
absolutely,
that is
yeah, absolutely.
Whatever route it takes, as long as you end up doing what you love, I think that's most important.
Absolutely, for sure. So, what led you into teaching?
So I was at university and I was coming to the end of my degree, and I didn't have any money. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to get a real job. I don't want to go and have to work for someone else. So I started teaching a few classes in the university with my friend James, and it started to grow. We started to get quite a few students. We were living in a place called Barking, which is in East London at the time, and Barking doesn't have much money, and it was quite tough at that time for us. We're living in rented accommodation. It wasn't particularly nice, and the area wasn't particularly nice. And one day we got in our car and decided to go and find an area where we could teach. So we're driving around, and we drove further and further out, and we came to a place called Chigwell in Essex, and it was all like $1 million house, £1 million house, £2 million house, £3 million, all giant like mansions and stuff. And we were like, yeah, okay, we're going to teach here. So we moved our school to that area because it's a lot easier to earn a living if you teach in an area where the people have disposable income for like martial arts training. So we moved everything out there, and it's been going well ever since.
Fantastic. Oh, that was a smart. And wow, you are a smart chap.
Sometimes, in some areas I'm smart, in other areas I'm very dumb.
Well, I think we can all attest to that one, really.
Yeah.
So obviously, eventually, this led on to a full-time centre.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And,
so we started teaching at David Lloyd, and it took off really, really well. We were young and hungry, and we were working it hard, and lots of marketing, lots of advertising, and we grew to about 100 students, and that quite quickly. So then we found a unit on an industrial estate, like most martial artists do in the UK. Rented it out, and we were there like 15 years, I think, last year. So
wow, that's about the same sort of time my school's been running for now, about 15 years. It's it goes really quick and but really slow sometimes as well. It's a bit of a funny one when you think back and go, oh god, that's gone really quickly. But again, at the same time, it does sometimes feel not a drag. I wouldn't want to put that much of a negative slant on it, but there are like my challenges this morning we were discussing earlier. But we won't go into that one now.
I think it's repetitive. That's the thing.
Yes,
it's not necessarily like a drag, but it's dealing with the same problems and the same issues and the same people week after week, month after month, year after year. So it's not like it's negative. It's just repetitive.
Yes,
which has its own issues, of course.
Absolutely does. As I say, I wouldn't want to swap this for anything else, really. To be fair, I think we all have those days where the grass is greener.
Yes.
And I think to myself sometimes I'd rather be doing something different. But
that's why I kind of moved on to the online area, because it allowed me to kind of reach more people, to help more people, to get out of my school and go and teach seminars at other people's schools, which is really cool. and a bit of variety in my sort of day-to-day routine.
Yeah, absolutely. As well, I just noted that you had some success competitive as well. You went into the competition side of martial arts. Just wondered if you wanted just to expand on that a little bit.
I only did a bit. I did some sort of light contact kickboxing early on, and then I did some jiu-jitsu competitions. And then about this time, MMA was just appearing on the scene. You know, I was watching UFC 1, 2, and 3 and thinking, oh, that looks pretty cool. Yeah. Fancy giving it a go. Because I've been training martial arts for like 10, 15 years at that point, and I wanted to actually see if I could make it work, actually against someone who was trying to hit me back. So I started training with Eric Paulson. I used to go out to LA quite a lot and train MMA with Eric Paulson, who's like just amazing MMA coach. And then I came back to the UK and started doing MMA fights. And that was so early in the MMA sort of thing over here that there were no cages in the UK at that time.
Wow.
It was still done in boxing rings.
Wow.
So it was way back, way back when.
Way back when.
And like our first fight, like Mike Bisping was fighting at the same fight, and he just started as well. So
wow,
it was that far back that.
That's a cool claim.
And then I did some, because I've been training in America with Eric Paulson, who'd been doing MMA for like 10 years at that point, and had also done bare knuckle MMA and all that sort of stuff. I did all right in my fights because I was just much better rounded than the other person. You know, I had more skills in striking, grappling, and the mix between it than most of the other people at that time. So it kind of worked out well for me.
Great stuff. Obviously, so with all that extensive background we've just discussed there, obviously then, as we touched on a little bit a few minutes ago, you took the step to moving things online. Now, I mean, this is something that I looked at going back a fair few years ago, and I can remember at the time, it was something that it caught my interest, but I was a little bit cautious of. Wow, how things have changed. But yeah, I just wondered if you could share a little bit about how things first started for you with the online videos and
a quick question for you. Why were you cautious way back then?
Way back then, I think it would, if I'm completely honest, I think it would be probably something that you've come across with other people. Again, it's probably the misconception or the preconceived ideas that people will judge as martial artists.
Well, they will.
We teach, yeah, exactly.
We're a judgmental group.
Absolutely, we teach from school halls, and that sort of thing. I suppose I was worried that if I was to put things out there, that people might judge. But obviously, things have moved on somewhat now. The world's a slightly more tolerant place. But now I just wonder what sort of challenges you faced initially with getting things going.
A lot. When I started this, it was about 6-7 years ago. The technology was really difficult. It was using like lots of different software platforms to try and make things work together, and they wouldn't work together and they'd break, and it was a nightmare. And I went through all sorts of different platforms trying to make it work, and it didn't. Luckily, recently, the technology's really come on, and there's a lot more out there that can make things a lot easier. But yeah, there was a nightmare. I mean, in my first year, I didn't make any sales at all from my online part of my business. Like zero, nothing. And I was putting stuff out there all the time. I was, hustling hard and trying to get people to engage with it and get people to buy the online products, but it wasn't happening in the first year. So that was a bit demoralizing, but I'm not really a quitter. So I just kept on working at it and building it, and now it's got pretty big.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I can say I went to been to one of your courses, and it surprised me the turnaround that you had. I mean, you to say that you had determination where many people would quit is probably an understatement. It's the fact that you persevered with it that long. I mean, but a testament to you. I mean, you've made it work, which is
isn't that the point of martial arts, though? Isn't it? Discipline, persistence, turning up, even when it's not working out, going through suffering, overcoming adversity. Yeah. So, I mean, the whole thing about martial arts is you should be able to apply those same lessons you learn in the dojo into your life. So if I do come up against adversity and problems, I don't quit. So that's just kind of who I am as well. So
yeah, well, you've definitely made it work. That much.
Yes.
That much I can say. I mean, you've made it work to the point now that where are you at now with things?
Well, I got to the point about 6 months ago where the online part of my business was bringing in enough revenue that I could sell my school.
Wow.
And purely focus on just doing the online side of things, which to many martial arts instructors is like either horrific or or it's something they want to do, but they could never imagine a point where they could get to it.
Yeah.
A problem I found with teaching in a school is you're kind of tied to one location, and obviously you have to turn up and teach classes. So if I wanted to go somewhere else and teach a seminar or meet some instructors and have a discussion with them, it was very difficult because I had to be back for my 4 p.m. classes, etc.
Yeah.
So I found it was kind of limiting what I could do and the contribution I could make to martial arts having a full-time school. Plus, there's a lot of management of full-time academies, and I'm a terrible manager. I'm like the worst manager possibly ever, apart from David Brent, who's probably worse than me, but I'm a close second. So it wasn't working for me, and it kind of wasn't working for the staff either. So it was time to be brave and, make the jump and go for it. And luckily I had an alternative, which was to do it online and to teach seminars only, which is really fun because people at seminars are really excited to see you. They pay attention to everything you say. They ask good questions. Whereas teaching in your own school week in, week out, year in, year out, people kind of get a bit complacent with you, and they treat you kind of a bit lackadaisically. They don't really appreciate the value that you bring to them.
Yeah.
Whereas on seminars, people are rapt. They're like totally absorbed in what you're saying, and they thank you after, which is quite nice. So I had to make the shift, and I made the shift, and it's worked out. So far, so good. But if if you see me at McDonald's working behind the counter soon, you'll know, it all went tits up.
Well, I mean, the thing with this is, I took on board some of the ideas that you had. Actually, it was from seeing you at Mabex last year, with Gordon's event last year, and I put to work, sort of learning how the systems work, the online systems work, and tested it out with my own students first, by moving our entire syllabus, our 5 years worth of syllabus, online, which to anybody listening in might sound like a horrific task, but really it wasn't. Now, this isn't to say that I haven't got a substantial system or syllabus. I'm often told it's too complicated when I show people, but It was a case of setting up the camera, pressing record, and we just went for it. We just went and didn't stop until it was finished. And it didn't actually take that long to get it all on camera. Nope. Probably the most difficult part was the editing afterwards and getting it online. But it took me no more than 2-3 days to get everything on there and obviously shift it around. The longest part probably actually was watching it all back to make sure that I'd taken out all of the outtakes, shall we say? The occasional naughty word and things like that. But no, it worked so well. It worked so well. I mean, we as we all do as schools, when we have schools that run grading systems, you'll often have students that will quit over a grading rather than the worry of facing the grading and failing. They'll just quit. And right. We've found that this has helped students. They've actually come to us and said, this has been a fantastic resource for us because we've been able to work with our child, and so the parents have got the benefit from getting some quality time in with their kids as well. And then, as looking at it from a business perspective, obviously it's helped us financially as well. So everybody won, really. The students were happy, the parents were happy. We had students that stayed. We had more students grade.
Exactly.
Yes. and then the business was in a better position afterwards to offer more. I mean, we actually the money that came in from the initial sales of the syllabus, because it's still there. Once it's recorded, it's there forever. But right. We ploughed it back into the school and we bought a load of new equipment. So. It's
so it's very much worth doing, right?
Absolutely. And then more recently, I'm sure people have seen, and the amount of stuff I've been putting out talking about it. I've been developing my own kicking online kicking resource. People have been badgering me for years to do it, truth be told, and I've always put it off. But again, I spent, I think it was 4, maybe 5 hours just recording everything. It was a good workout.
Yeah,
it's a really good workout. And now I've got all that footage there ready to go. So we're working with yourself to get it online. It's exciting stuff, and I would encourage anybody out there that's interested to get in touch and go for it, because it's the way. I think
it's just great for your school, like you said, because it helps retention. So I had students that are struggling with kicking drills, for example, and obviously if you're the lead coach and you're the manager of the business and you're running everything, it's quite hard to devote time to help individual students when you've got a school of like 350 members. So I sent them some of my kicking videos and said, run through these, and then I called them back and said, how's it going with the videos? And they're like, they helped me massively, thank you so much. And then I checked in on them in class and said, how's the kicks going? And it improved. And these people stick with you because, it's just an extra resource to show that you care about them and you want to help them. Plus, like you say, having your syllabus online is really useful for people if they miss classes or if they're worried about gradings and all of that. And eventually you get like to where you are now, where you've got skills which other people around the world will want to learn.
Absolutely. So
you might as well share them with other people around the world. You don't have to just teach in your local town. How about, you teach anyone in the world who wants to learn how to kick better?
That's absolutely right. And again, admittedly, I did have those sort of worries initially when I first came across this, but now, like we talked about before, the idea of I could put a video online, go to bed, and then wake up the next morning, somebody's bought my video.
Yeah, that is one of the as a martial arts instructor, that is really, and a business owner, that's a fantastic feeling, because you freed yourself from having to teach classes to earn money. Now, if the 20-year-olds out there are listening to this, they'll be like, why would you want to do that? I mean, I love teaching. I love it. And I get that. I was the same when I was 20 and I was the same when I was 30. But then my family came along and I had young children and no sleep, and the business started to have problems, and, there's issues with management, and I started to burn out, basically. I was doing too many classes, trying to run the business, doing too many private lessons, young family, and not, looking after myself well enough. And I started to burn out, and I needed a way to earn money without having to teach more, because I literally didn't have enough time left in the day or energy left in the day to do that. So when you're 20, none of this applies. You're like, you'll do 25 hours worth of privates a week, no problems. Yeah. But as you approach 40 and 50 and 60, it's not sustainable. You're going to burn out, and worse than burning out, you're going to fall out of love with martial arts. Yeah. What was once your love is going to start, you're going to start resenting it and not wanting to do it. So I knew this was coming. I could feel it. So I kind of worked out that the best way for me to do that was to turn my passion, which is martial arts, into a product, which I could then share with people who are also passionate about martial arts and earn an income without having to teach classes. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, knowing my personality and how much I like to work on things and, hustle, it's taken off. And now I physically don't have to teach classes anymore to look after my family and earn a living. I still do teach the odd class here and there, and I still do seminars because I love seminars. But the day-to-day class teaching, I don't do anymore.
Now, and I can relate to that fully. I mean, as I said, I love having my school, and I obviously I'm very thankful for the amount of students and the families that are involved. But I think there are other school owners out there that will be able to empathise with this a little bit and agree with it. I was saying to you the other day, I was at the martial arts show. I had a group of about 50 or 60 people, hanging on my every word. They were really keen. They wanted to be there. And I'd actually closed my school that weekend, that Saturday, which is a rarity for me, so that my team could go as well. I didn't want to go off to the martial arts show and go, hey, I'm going to do this cool stuff. You can all stay and teach the classes. I said, no, we're all going. So I took my entire team. We went down and I said to them, guys, go and get involved with everything. Immerse yourselves. Learn, have fun. because they come back buzzing on a Monday.
Yeah, of course.
And I came back buzzing on the Monday until I got to the front door and I was greeted by a parent who I shan't name. In fact, if they are listening, they'll know who they are. But the first person that greeted me at the door was a parent kicking off because we weren't open on Saturday. And despite the fact there were notices on every single door to say that we were closed, they'd had emails, they'd had text messages, Facebook messages, you name it. And it just, I was like, oh, you really? I was on such a positive, and then I'm getting back to the gym, and they're like, why weren't you open? Why was this? And truth be told, let's say it's little Jimmy. Use the name Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't really want to be in class. And when Jimmy is in class, Dad just shoves his head in his iPad. Doesn't even look at the class anyway. And it's that sort of thing that it wears you down over time. That's it. It's not an isolated event, though. That's the problem with running a full-time school. This sort of little thing happens every single day repeatedly and over a period of months, years, and you add other life stresses to it, like family, money worries, young kids. It can become a bit much, and you start resenting it, which is sad, because also the problem is we turn from martial arts instructors, which is our passion, teaching and sharing, into martial arts school managers, which is not our passion and not what we love to do, but we have to do it because we built a school. And it creates all sorts of stress and tension. So I wanted to be free of all that petty, small problems, you get with running a school. Like there's no toilet roll in the toilet thing, and the bins need doing, and parents are moaning, and staff aren't getting on, and there's issues with rent and rates and all that. I wanted to get rid of all of that minor day-to-day stress, so I could focus on bigger things, more important things, and more challenging things to myself. And the only way I could figure out to do it, there's lots of ways of doing it. Obviously, you can get a school manager in to run your school as a manager. You could hire more staff and delegate more. But the only way I could figure out to do it was to turn my passion into a product so that I could then free up my time. Yeah, and it's for me as well. I've actually enjoyed the process of coming up with the content. Of sort of brainstorming new ideas for further courses down the line. I enjoyed the process of filming it, getting it online, sharing the clips, and look, let's be honest, we all like it on Facebook. I put a couple of clips out on Facebook, and people liked it and messaged me. Your kicks are great. Yeah, so it's nice, and I found it actually sort of it helps re-energize me a little bit, give me a little bit of extra spark. I had a great day with the filming the stuff, and then that kind of led into the classes. Jimmy's dad wasn't there that night, so that was all right. But no, it's it's very exciting stuff. And the thing that I like about it as well is obviously I'm not the first person to think of an online kicking resource, but as you said yourself, we all teach in different ways, so there's room for everybody. If somebody else has got a kicking course idea, great, go do it. But we'll attract different people, or maybe we'll attract the same people. Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's all about what people are paying for. A lot of people say to me, "Well, why would I put my stuff online when people can watch it for free on YouTube from other instructors?" And I'm like, people are not. People are going to pay for your particular take on the material or on kicking. So people who like your style of kicking, Chris, and your personality are going to pay for your take on it, whereas a different person might present it in a slightly different way. Your experience through the last 30 years of training, everything you've overcome is all kind of part of that and mixed in. So that's what people pay for. They pay for your take on a particular subject. There's loads of pad drills out on the internet. There's loads of people teaching pad drills. But what people like is how I break it down, my stories I bring to it, my experience, and how I coach. And there's room for, lots more like that.
Yeah. On that subject, that Mitmaster, I think that's probably what most people. I introduced you as a Mitmaster. That's what what you're most probably well known for at the moment. I
There's
use
a funny story about that. I was looking at houses in my local area the other day. I was about an hour away from where my current house is, and I was viewing a house. I walk in, and the guy says, have a look around, and he's looking at me funny. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he goes, I recognize you from somewhere. And then I'm looking around, and upstairs I notice he's got a pair of focus mitts laying on the side.
Wow.
So I go down, and literally as I go in the door, he goes, you're the Mitmaster. So that's just weird.
Wow.
that happens. I'm an hour away from my house and some guy recognizes me from my video. So yeah,
Well, I once,
you get that.
I
Strange.
this is a funny one, and my mate Andy's probably listening. My friend Andy Taylor, is a very well known stuntman. He has this little joke with me. We were at Senny, wow, years ago, and I had this guy stop me, look at me, point at me, and then say, he went, "Are you the real Chris Jones?"
I haven't had that yet. Yeah. That's great.
And I was like, yeah, I am. I am the genuine article.
You're not a body double or a fake or anything.
I was dressed head to toe, like I do. People know I'm like this. Dressed head to toe in logoed up gear. It's pretty obvious. Yeah, that's me. But no, the MITmaster content itself, it's something that I do use in my school, and I know a number of other school owners that use it as well, and it is a fantastic resource, and dare I say it's a pretty substantial resource as well. How many actual sort of drills or videos do you think are out there now? It's wow.
The MITmaster system, as it stands, because it's evolving and I'm creating new stuff all the time, is about 500 odd pad drills.
Wow.
So it's big, across different styles like boxing, Thai boxing, MMA, kickboxing, and Filipino martial arts. But yeah, it's about 500 pad drills. But the thing is, what I'm really good at is creating and teaching, I think. So I come up with drills all the time. I'll literally be hitting pads and a new drill will appear in my head, and that will lead to a new series and a new set of videos. So it will grow and grow and grow, I think. I don't think it's going to stop.
There's a pretty comprehensive list. I mean, I downloaded, I can't remember how long ago it was now, probably one of the fuller packs with sort of a lot of things in there. And what I do is actually have it on my desktop in my office. Yeah. And every now and again I'll just dip into it just for some ideas, and I'll take one or two drills out and drop it into my lesson plan just to mix things up a little bit. Because we all, I mean, I love creating teaching content, but we all go stale from time to time.
Of course.
And I found personally it's a great resource, and I would encourage people to go and look at it. It's nice just to, and some of them I've actually altered. Obviously, they're not necessarily there are system specific drills in there, but all of them really you could sort of switch and change to match whatever it is that you're teaching.
That's the whole point. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, because I didn't have a coach at the time, and I was needed inspiration. I would go on YouTube and search through hundreds of videos to try and find, something I hadn't seen, or a different take on a subject or a different concept. And I thought, I wonder if other martial arts instructors kind of do this as well, for inspiration and variety, and just to add that little extra sparkle to classes. So that's part of the reason why I set up MITmaster. It's just, like you say, for people to dip in and out, take the drills they like, use them in their classes. It's interesting for your students, but it's also interesting for you, because if you just teach the same drills over and over and over for decades, it's boring for everyone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree with that one. And if I've done the whole thing with YouTube as well, and if there's other people out there, anything like I am, you go on there with a pen and pad, fully intending to pull out either boxing drills, kicking drills, whatever, and you end up on cat videos and all sorts of weird stuff that you never even oh, that looks good, like as martial artists instructor, oh, look at that shiny thing, click it, and then you end up on something completely unrelated.
The advantage of having like an online thing like MITmaster is that's exactly the same thing. You go on YouTube to try and find some new ideas, some new drills, and something else happens and you get distracted and you're watching something else. At least with my sort of programs and systems and downloads, you just get a focused, detailed package of drills around a particular subject, so that you get it all there ready for you just to absorb and edit as you want.
I believe now it's the option now is people can actually train in the system as well, become instructors and that sort of thing. That's pretty cool. So it's fairly substantial, and there's a lot out there for I've got like coaches who've done online parts of my program all over the world, in America, in Japan, in Thailand,
all over the world. And the reason why I did it online first is because I was getting a lot of time wasters. So I get a lot of emails from people saying, love your system, really want to study with you. Where are you based? And I'd say, look, I'm based in London. And they say, oh, I'm only like 2 hours away. That'd be great. Would love to come and train with you. Let's put it in the diary. And then, a day before, oh, sorry, the kids are ill. The dog's died, the cat ate my homework, whatever excuse they come up with, but not turning up. And I'd scheduled the time and cancelled privates, and arranged all that. And I was like, well, screw this. If you want to study under me, I expect you to do the online first. The online, there's 2 levels online and then 1 face-to-face. I expect you to invest your money and your time doing the online and pass that before you get to see me face-to-face so you don't waste my time.
That's interesting, yeah.
That's why I did it like that. Obviously, it'd be better if people could come. But, if you're in Australia, you're not going to fly over to do a one-day training seminar with me, are you? So I wanted to help people all over the world. And the only way to do that is via distance learning, online learning. So
fantastic. Well, it's impressive stuff, I've got to say, from what I've seen. And as I said before, I encourage people to go check out the myriad of different things that you've got going on, because it is all, even if, because I know for sure there will be, as you know, there'll be some people listening going, oh no, nonsense, not. Go and look at it anyway. I think the people who go nonsense are the people who believe you can't learn martial arts online. And actually, I tend to agree with them. I don't think you can really effectively learn a whole martial art online without access to a coach. But what I do think you can do is supplement your own training online. So if you've got a coach and you want to get a little bit of extra help on some details or a different perspective, I think the online training can supplement what people have already got. But you 100% need a coach, which you stick and you train with for a long period of time to get to a decent level, because you need that feedback, that hands-on touch, the relationship and all of that. But what the online does is it supplements that training. So. Yeah, absolutely does. And again, coming back onto my school and my experience with the syllabus, when I'm in class teaching and when I've got instructors teaching and I'm walking around and I go through the reception area, there's always people with their heads buried in phones, iPads, that sort of thing. And oftentimes there'd be Netflix or the video, but I've actually noticed now there's a shift. There's more people actually that are going through the syllabus. So, and this is even parents.
That's great.
The kids are in the class teaching, and they're looking up the drill on their phone.
Oh, that's very cool.
To see, just some of them it's just so they can learn. But I know full well that some of them are just to see if they're doing it wrong, or
if they're engaged and active and interested and paying attention, which is
and it allows those. I found as an interesting one as well. We've all got those parents that maybe get a little bit too involved, shall we say? And it actually gave them. It sort of channeled that a little bit. So here you go. You can go look at this. Go look at this thing on here, instead of shouting into my class constantly. I dare say that we've probably got some parents now that know my syllabus better than me, as a result. But no, it is all good stuff. So what does the future hold? Anything on the horizon that you've got planned that you could share, or is it all super top secret?
So. I keep getting emails from people around the world saying they want to, because I do the seminar that you attended, the Teach Your Passion Online seminar, but I do that in London, and I'm getting people from Indonesia and, Brazil wanting to do that. They're martial arts instructors who want to share their passion online but don't have a clue. So I'm going to create an online version of that, and that's almost finished. So I'll be kind of releasing that soon so people can go through the process and work through the videos and work through the workbooks and go through the action steps to set up their own online martial arts school. And a lot of people will just use it, like you did originally, for helping out their students in their school, which is enough. It's fantastic. If you think about it from a marketing perspective as well, if you market the fact that you've got an online university or an online portal for your members, who's going to choose a school that hasn't got that? If you're choosing between 2 schools, you're always going to choose the one that's got this massive online course library that people can access as well. So even just using it as a marketing and retention tool, it's worth doing. And then a lot of people really want to share their passion with the world. I mean, we're teaching passionately to this small group of a couple of hundred people in our local towns, but why can't we share that with everyone who's interested in what we do? And that's really, really good. And of course, one of the main advantages once you get it really going is passive income, meaning as you age as a martial artist and you no longer want to be teaching 40 hours of classes a week and doing 20 hours of privates and doing all the management that goes with the school, you can start this kind of passive income stream from your online products, just bringing in money. And it'll trickle in to start with, you'll make 20 quid here, 20 quid there. But if you know how to market and run it correctly, it'll turn into 100 quid here and 100 quid there. And then it starts going up and up and up. And, if you give it 2-3 years of work, you can bring in enough money to live comfortably off it, which is insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a lot of people.
Yeah. And obviously, and I'll attest to that because I was, as you say, I was on the course, so I saw the figures that you shared. And I also saw, which was really cool because you were connected to the internet at the time, people buying your packages whilst you were giving the course.
Now, isn't that mad? I mean, the other day I went to IKEA with my missus and she wanted to buy some rubbish flat pack furniture, and I was wandering around IKEA like moaning and groaning like husbands do about being there. And then some guy like in like Sweden or something bought 90 quid's worth of videos. And my missus only spent 60 quid in IKEA. So I actually made 30 quid profit while walking around IKEA. And after that point, I was just sold. I mean, you just got to do more and more of it. So it frees you freeze your time. You can be earning money while you're on holiday. You can be earning money while you're sat at home playing with the kids. You can be earning money in IKEA. It's hard to get martial artists to think like this because we're so used to we have to teach classes to earn money. But just think about your classes being online, so you don't actually. And once you film the video once, you can sell it forever, for the rest of your life. So I'm still selling videos that I made 7 years ago, and also the other advantage is that you don't age on video. So you were talking about how you filmed your videos and you were doing it because you're worried that you're going to injure your knee.
Yeah.
And if you really screw up your knee, you can't be doing all the jump spins and the flash stuff.
That's it.
So it's a good idea to have that sort of content down in your peak so that when you're 60 and your knees are shot, you can still sell those videos.
Yeah, I can wholeheartedly recommend doing it that way around rather than the way that I did it. I was at a charity event a few weeks ago and I think some people saw the aftermath of it. I quite substantially wrecked myself. And that was the point that I thought, really should get on with this online video, which was the wrong way around of doing it, really. but
you know what us martial artists are like? We injure ourselves all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you really pop a couple of discs in your back or really frazzle something and, you haven't got assistant coaches to help you out in classes, how are you going to teach? You will be able to teach from the side and speak it, but, people will only do that for so long before they start moaning and groaning. So what I wanted to do is take where I was at as a martial artist, condense it and crystallize it, and then offer it to people online. And nowadays, online learning is huge. I mean, the traditional martial artists, like the older guys, are kind of like a little bit reluctant to do this. But the next generation coming through, the 30, 40-year-olds, and the generation behind that, it's all going to be learning via online and apps and things like that. So you want to get in and get known as the expert in your niche, in your area of expertise, which for me is pads, which is for you is kicking. If you get known first, it's very, very difficult for anyone to jump into that space afterwards because you're the guy in that space, So it's definitely worth doing now rather than like thinking about it. Yeah, it sounds good, Matt. I'll do that in 5 years' time. And then someone else has done it and you're like, damn it, should have done it then. And the process is easy now, isn't it? You've been to my course. You know it's not rocket science, is it? It's just do this, do that, do that.
The fact that I could get through it all and understand it, I can attest to that. It's not rocket science.
No.
If I can do it, anyone can do it, really. But no, joking aside, the way that it's laid out is you go in with a lot of questions in your head and you come out with a lot of answers and some more ideas as well.
Good.
It's not tricky once you know how to do it. That's what
I've made it very simple because if you go online and put into Google how to set up online courses or how to teach online courses, you get like 3 million websites back. And you read different things on each website, and it's very confusing. Well, what I've done is I've made like every mistake possible for you, so you don't have to. Because I'm persistent, I carried on where most people would have quit. And now I've just simplified it to like 3 or 4 steps. And once you get those 3 or 4 steps done, you're away, and it's nice. And I've had students who've launched their product after being at my course, and one of them made 12 grand in 4 months. I was like, holy
wow.
Like, how did you do that? Because it took me years to get to that point, and he did it in 4 months, and he's still selling via it. So it can go like really quickly. It can scale really quickly. That's the whole thing about the internet. If you get it right, it grows massively very quickly.
So I suppose, essentially people can make it as big or as small as they want to. They could have it as small as like what I did initially, and just have it for their students in their school, or as big as the world.
Yes. And what I would do is prepare your stuff so that it goes to the world. So if you're teaching your syllabus stuff, maybe don't have your club banner in the background, keep it kind of neutral. You can be wearing a uniform, etc. But that means later on you could sell it online as its own standalone product. Whereas if you're kind of all logoed up and bannered up and it's all about your club, then it's a little bit harder to sell. So anticipate that at some point you might go, oh, this stuff is really good. Maybe other martial artists might enjoy this. So make it fairly neutral so that you could then just sell it by itself.
Don't do what I do then and use phrases like give it some clout.
Well, why not? That's your personality. You've got, another mistake people make online is they become robots. Yeah. So like, hi guys, we are here today to learn how to, and they kind of don't act naturally on camera.
Yeah.
So if you've seen any of my Mitmaster stuff, I'm just being who I am when I teach.
Yeah.
If I make a mistake during the drill, we just carry on. I don't edit it out.
Absolutely.
It's all when we make a mistake, we laugh. We're not serious. It's not my personality to be serious. So people want to see the real you. I think nowadays, the days of like these stiff cardboard sort of martial arts instructors standing up and teaching isn't what it's about now. People want real.
Yeah,
I think, a real person.
Yeah, obviously not wanting to go off on a different subject too much, but I think Facebook Live especially has made people a lot more aware of that sort of thing. Because now, I mean, everybody's a walking television station now. Everybody's got access to this broadcasting equipment in their pocket walking around. So people have kind of got used to. I think people have got used to being seen. And now people are sort of taking that information in. And I agree with you. I mean, when I recorded all of the kicking syllabus as a test run, I put it onto my online portal for my students first, as a freebie, so to speak, so that they could go through it. And some of the things that I got back, one gent said, "Oh, it was really nice to see when you did that kick wrong," because now I felt, I felt like, oh well, I can't do it yet either. And the fact that you can do it and you made a mistake, it made it seem more accessible.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, I did then go back online and think, which one was that? I don't remember that. But no, it's all good stuff. So where can people go to find out more about all of this content we've been talking about?
Well, probably the best thing to go is to go to my personal website, which is Matthew with 2 T's, MATTHEW Chapman, CHAPMAN.com, Matthew-Chapman.com. Because that's got my Mitmaster stuff on it. It's got my Teacher Passion Online stuff on it. It's got my Google stuff on it. So you can find out pretty much everything about what I'm up to there.
And that's on another subject. If they type your name into Google, then you do come up on it all. You're on all the Googles.
Good. Well, that's good then.
Fantastic. Now, well, thank you very much for your time. And
thank you.
It's been great to have you on as our first guest.
Thank you. Pleasure.
If anybody out there that's listening, if you do have any questions for Matt, obviously I'm sure you'll take them at the contacts he's just listed. Alternatively, you can go onto our new forum that we've created for the show. If you leave any messages there, I'm sure Matt will get back to you on there, or find him on Facebook as well. He's all on the Facebooks too. So again, yes, thank you for your time, and we shall speak soon.
No, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you to Matt for his time. And I'm sure you'll agree, some really, really interesting stuff there. Well worth going and checking out. No matter what side of the fence you're on, obviously learning and understanding these things is what it's about. So yeah, I do encourage you, go check it out, find out for yourself what it's about. Now, earlier in the week, when we set up the new podcast Facebook group, I popped a post on there asking for people to suggest topics to discuss. Now, what I am looking to do in further podcasts is actually involve people coming in on calls to discuss these. But just for this first one, obviously while the podcast is still growing, what I'm going to do is just pick one of the discussion points. Now, I'm actually going to pick one posted by my good friend, Mr. Chris Gradelli, a fantastic martial artist. I don't think he really needs an introduction. I think everybody knows who he is and what he does. But he posted the comment of how does martial arts help personal development? Now, I think this is one of those things. It's different for everybody. For me personally, going back to probably my late teens. Now let's go back to the start. Actually, as a child, I mean, I was. I'll just say it. I was an easy target. I was one of those kids that was. There was the potential there for some pretty hefty bullying. I was the kid that liked to watch Star Trek and played musical instruments. So I was prime target for some bullying. And martial arts, whilst I didn't have to use on too many occasions physically, I think it most definitely gave me an additional level of confidence that probably didn't present to the bullies as a target. And I know everybody listening in more than likely has enough of an understanding on this subject without me needing to go on about it. But for me personally, initially early days, it helped me to become just generally more confident in myself. And then later on, as a teen and into my early 20s, I remember actually it would be around about, I'd have been about 19, maybe 18, 19. My instructor at the time came to me and said, next class, you're taking warm-up. And I remember that for a week, I was stressing like crazy because although I was training in sessions most days at that time, I knew that it was. I even remember it was a Wednesday night at 6:30. I knew that the Wednesday night session the following week I was going to be teaching the warm up, and for that week, my days, I was stressing like crazy, over something that now, it's not even factored into my lesson plans. Usually the warm up, it's just something that we do, and looking back on that journey that I've taken from being worried to the point of not being able to sleep to take a warm-up to now teaching classes, in my own full-time centre, and taking it even further still, being able to stand on the stage and perform at the Royal Variety Show on the TV in front of the royal family and the Queen, to take that's a huge step to go from being terrified of taking a warm-up to performing on television, on stage, and in front of the royal family. And that's not some sort of brag. I'm using it as a way to sort of demonstrate the journey that I've taken personally myself. Even now, doing this podcast, sitting here, although only talking to myself, it's I would understand. I think the younger me, there's no way I would be doing this. Absolutely no way I would have the confidence to be able to sit and record this and to put this out there to everybody to listen to. So again, although it's a personal thing, as Chris does say, it's personal development. It is for me. I think it's a fantastic, martial arts is a fantastic tool to help lots of people in lots of different ways, and that's just my experience on it. So hopefully that resonates with some of the people out there. If you have your own journey or your own series of events that you want to share, get in touch and we'll discuss it. There were some other interesting talking points. Mr. Gillespie mentioned the benefits of martial arts for kids. Kieran mentioned about his action short that he's going through at the moment. We actually had some chats about that, and that's some interesting stuff. I'm definitely going to be looking to bring him on a later show. And Lara mentioned about having a whole episode dedicated to discussing Jean-Claude Van Damme's muscles. I don't think that's one that we're probably going to be going down anytime soon. If we really, really totally run out of topics, then we might look to dedicate maybe sort of like a 5-minute episode. But no, joking aside, it's all good fun. So yeah, if you've got your own topic points or anything that you want to discuss, whatever subject, it could be something positive that you want to promote, or it can be something that's sort of eating at you that you want to get out and discuss, something that you've seen that you're not happy about, whatever it is, get it mentioned on the forum, and I'll be sure to do my best, as long as it's legal, obviously, to try and get it discussed on the show. Moving on to the next show, we've actually got a number of guests lined up. I'm not going to go into too much detail as to the next guest because I'm actually trying to get the logistics worked out, but let's just say they are from the other side of the pond. So I'm very, very excited, and I'm hoping that we do get to get this particular person on, because he was actually a pretty huge influence on my training around the sort of the late 90s and 2000s, and as I know for sure that he was on a lot of other performers out there as well. So keep an eye out on the forum and on my Facebook group for more details about who that is. Again, as I mentioned at the start, a huge thank you to everybody that has shown support for my podcast so far. I know it's not perfect. There is still work to do. If you have any suggestions or ideas, please do get in touch, as I appreciate everybody's help. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will speak to you all next Friday.